Hello, welcome to the Impeller webinar today through Invest Puerto Rico. I'm Brian Borgery. Happy to be here with everyone. We're going to be running through the Impeller investment platform, the hub for investment opportunities and capital providers to find each other here in Puerto Rico. Today, we're going to stream through things pretty quickly, but also allow time for questions and answers at the end. What we're going to be going through today is first, we're going to start from the perspective of an investor, what you see when you come to the platform, poke around a little bit, spend a few minutes on that. Then we're going to switch gears to an issuer, what it looks like to list a deal yourself and all the details within that. So as you go through, feel free to send some messages. I probably won't look at them right away because I'll be giving a demo, but we will be compiling those. And then at the end, I'll go through specific questions that people have. So don't hesitate to send those over whenever you have them. And we'll give about 30 seconds for anyone else who's going to jump on as I prepare my screen. As I'm doing that, to give a little bit of background on the Impeller investment platform and Invest Puerto Rico. Invest Puerto Rico is the official business and investment attraction agency for the island. We are a nonprofit created by law. We work hand in hand with the government, but are run privately to help investors, businesses come create jobs on the island, invest in the island, and deploy capital. And then a lot of what I do specifically is I work with on-island groups who are looking to raise capital, and we help them gain more exposure to investors from all over the world. So the Impeller investment platform is the main tool that we use to help accomplish that goal. It's a platform that is open to any Puerto Rico-based or Puerto Rico-centric deal that is either going to be creating jobs or deploying capital or is set up and domiciled in Puerto Rico. That being said, there's, of course, minimum level of requirements and quality and things before something can list. It needs to be legal. There's things that go into it, but it is open to any type of industry, sector, capital formation. So whether it's debt, equity, convertible notes, revenue shares, royalties, as long as it's legal and makes sense and is presentable, those projects, those deals have an opportunity to list on the platform. I'm happy to announce that this week we broke 950 registered investors on the platform, which is amazing. The platform's been live for about 14 months, and we've had a lot of traction, and we're still just at the beginning. There have been some deals that have already funded through the platform as well, which is exciting. And I'll start breaking down a little bit more as we go through some more data and analytics on the platform. But let's just jump into it. So you don't got to look at my face too long. Let's pull up the screen here, and we're going to start on the main offering page, which is the Impeller deal doc. This is where all the deals that are public and can be publicly shared are listed. Now, it is important to know there are private deals that maybe are not showing here. We can handle public and private deals, different types of regulations and exemptions. So sometimes deals need to be kept under wraps for different reasons, whether it's by personal desire or legal reasons. So there are deals that aren't readily listed that maybe are only invite only, or you already have to prove that you're accredited before you can see them. So there's different deals that you can see and not see on the platform. So as I'm scrolling down here, you've probably been able to see that we have agriculture, we have manufacturing, we have technology, there's funds, even healthcare and energy, education, gaming, a little bit of everything. You can even see some of the deals that have listed on the platform, some of which have also fully funded through the platform, or at least been aided by and gained more exposure by the platform. So one thing to start out with on that front, if you're not familiar with the Impeller platform and how we work, I'll run through a couple of those details right now. So the process, if you're when you come to the platform for the first time, you'll be prompted to create an account. When you create an account, you can either register as an investor or an issuer. Pretty self-explanatory. An investor is someone who would like to invest, and that's the default. So even if you're not going to invest right now and you're not looking to spend the money today, but you still want to look at deals, you would create an investor account. Then at that point, the more you interact and look at deals, the more information we'll collect from you to make sure that you're qualified for the right types of investments that are being presented to you. If you want to list a deal, if you have a startup or a project that you want to raise capital for, you create an issuer account. And that's what we'll go through after this little part of the demo. So when you land on this page as an investor, you start looking around. Maybe you're interested in certain types of deals over others, or whether it's technology or something else. And all you got to do is find the project that you want to invest in or learn more about. Click Learn More. It's going to bring you to a very standardized structure for most deals. So this is nice for when you're looking. You always know, okay, well, the amount they're looking to raise is in this corner on this side here. So it kind of keeps a template to make it easy in that regard. However, each deal is specific. I think it has some extra security stuff that's actually blocking, their YouTube video. So I'll show you a different deal on that one. So in this regard, you can start to see all the different information for these deals. They'll have a summary. They'll tell you the basics, essentially the general information and offering details that you'd want to know to even see if this is something you're interested in. Now, this area can be dynamic. It can have charts, different things. We'll get into that. You can plug in your pitch deck all right here. And then also take note. There's other sections, everything from documents, videos, updates, Q&A, and contact us. One of the videos is very self-explanatory. Updates is also, if they have updates, they'll just list them here. Sometimes these updates are for the broader public. Sometimes they're just for people who have already invested or shown interest in investing. Question and answer, again, straightforward. Ask your questions, and one of the founders can answer. What we want to spend time on today is actually this document section. And we're going to hit on this again in the issuer portion. But the document section is where you're going to find all the other information that you would most likely want or need to know to make your decision if you wanted to invest or not. So here it's encouraged that the deals list everything that an investor would need to have access to at some point. Now, that being said, not everything listed here is automatically available to everyone. There are documents and information that is needed to be kept under wraps, or you need to make sure you know who's looking at it, privacy, restrictions, things like that. So some documents, as you can see here, will have a little lock icon, and that means there's a further restriction. So this top row, anyone who has access to the platform could look at, but these ones that have a lock have some form of restriction. That restriction could be, at a minimum, you have to have an account created, could be you have to prove you're an accredited, or at least self-attest that you're an accredited investor, or just ask permission and they say yes or no, sign an NDA. So there's lots of options there. We're not going to go through all those, but just know that when you click on that, you'll be responded with whatever you need to comply for on the restriction level side. You can also go through investments on the platform. On the left-hand side here, you will see you can enter in a dollar amount. It shows if there's a minimum for this offering. So in this case, it's $100,000 minimum. It'll walk you through the steps, verifying your identity, accreditation status, if that's required, signing documents, which can be done electronically right on the platform, and then the payment method, whether it's a wire or another form of payment. And you can go right through and be as automated, ideally, as possible on the platform. So this is the basic structure, but I do want to note a couple different things. For those offerings that are public, many of them are allowed to be shared. So you'll see this share offer button here. And here, as you can see, easy, click a button to share to different social networks. Just copy the link. If you want to do a direct email invite to someone, you can do that. And then for those who are listing the offerings and for those who are sharing, you can actually track if people are using your link and get those analytics for who's sharing and whatnot. So that's nice. Not all deals are available to be shared publicly, either for legal reasons or by the decision of the issuer. Another thing I want to hit on is some deals are just set up to be what's called test the waters campaigns. So this is very interesting, particularly for new types of deals or for startups or companies that maybe know they need to raise capital, but they don't quite know exactly how much they should raise or what a deal structure should be, or they don't want to spend the money on legal or accounting reviews until they actually know some more details. So what you can do is you can set up an offering to be in what's called a test the waters campaign. And we'll look here and see one of these. Oh, that one's open for investment. And what happens in a test the waters campaign, here we go. Instead of having an invest button here on the right-hand side, they'll have an express investment interest or interest to invest. And instead of going right into this whole investment process, you can be presented with a custom questionnaire that asks you everything from what type of deal structure are you interested in to is there any other way you think you could collaborate or add value to this company? What's the range that you would like to invest? So it's non-committal. I'll actually go to a different deal to show you what that form looks like. Here we go. So do a little identity verification. Then here we go, express interest. This is what I was talking about. You can choose the deal structures you'd be interested in. You can choose a dollar amount. And then you can, if there's any other way that you could add value. And there could be other questions in there as well. So in that case, what happens is for early stage companies, they just maybe don't want to spend the money. There's a number of reasons, but it's still important to collect information, feedback from the community. Now, this is also an opportunity for investors who like to invest early or who maybe have specific deal terms that they like to invest through versus maybe more generic ones. An example of that, we did have a deal that was listed here. They knew about how much they thought they wanted to raise. They thought they knew what the deal structure they should do, but to be sure, they listed in a test the waters format. And lo and behold, a firm, an institutional investor came by, saw that they hadn't set the stakes too deep in the ground on a certain structure yet, and they said, hey, if you take more money and do these terms, we'll invest in you. So that flexibility allowed them to get an investor that they probably would not have gotten otherwise. So that can be a tool for many projects, especially early stage companies or new deals that maybe don't know exactly how it should be structured. So a couple more things we'll hit on, but not go deeply into. This is a test account, so I don't have a lot of data in a portfolio. But once you start investing, you'll start to have a portfolio with charts, pie charts to see and break down the different investments you have, whether it's based on sector or industry or what type of investment it is. You can see if you have pending transactions or any transaction history of any investments you may have made to this point. So that's where you can manage that. You can manage your account and personal information here. And if you have any outstanding documents that need to be signed or from past deals waiting for your signature, all will be found in this document area. So that's the conclusion of the main part from an investor standpoint. So take a second. If you have any questions on anything from an investor lens, feel free to put those in the chat. We're compiling those, and I'll get to those after. Otherwise, we're going to switch over to an issuer account view. In this case, I happen to have an investor and an issuer account with my same email. So I'm just going to switch over here to my test company called Curation Space. And what you'll notice is on the left-hand sidebar, I now have a left-hand sidebar. So before you didn't have this from an investor view. Here is where you're going to be able to manage offerings, engagement, documents, and transactions. So when you sign up as an issuer, you're actually brought to this offers page, and you can create or add an offer. So I've already started one here, which is not listed, but it has the basic structure. So when you first set it up, you're going to be presented with this template. And right away, what you can start doing is in a drag and drop or WYSIWYG manner, you can click this plus button to add sections. And this allows you to do summaries, which is what this red structure looks like here, tiles, which you see over here, text, images, video, tables, charts. You can have your deck imported right in so people can flip through. Or if you're technical and you want to custom code it, have at it. You can do that as well. We try to make it as easy as possible. As Invest Puerto Rico, we are a nonprofit. We're doing this to help projects and investors make deals happen, but we are not getting involved in the deals themselves. That means, one, we're not getting involved in any transactions, handling of money, or official anything from that standpoint. But also, we're not going to make your pitch deck for you, do your compliance, be your lawyer, because we're not anything else. We're providing a marketing platform and an investment management platform that you can use. It'll make your capital raising process hopefully much easier, gain much exposure, but we will not be doing the work for any party within the transaction. So to make that clear, but we are a nonprofit and we're happy to help as much as we can. That being said, once you've finished building things out, you can move on to filling out more information. Now, a couple things I'll hit on a little details. When you're adding a section, let's say images in this case, take note up here, there's content, design, so the background, if you want to change from the standard background, and access. So even the different components that would go show on the main page, you can control who has access. So access to everyone, be signed in, be on an account list. So maybe you want to have all the information in one spot, but you don't want just anyone to see a couple pieces of information, maybe a couple charts. You can do be signed in. So at a minimum, you know that whoever's looking at it, you actually have their information, so you know who's looking at it and you can keep track. Most of what you put on that main page will be pretty public, safe to share by default, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. Now, to start filling out the deal itself, in addition to just dragging and dropping or uploading your pictures, we try to make it easy. We have the dimensions right there for you. On the left-hand side, you'll see basic info, pretty self-explanatory, but in case we also have some helper text that can come through. But here is where you're choosing the name of the offering, descriptions, hence all the basic info, how much you're going to raise, if it's in dollars or whatever the base currency is, probably going to be dollars. If it's applicable, price per share, or if you have a debt offering or something, fill in only what makes sense for your deal. You don't have to fill out everything if it doesn't make sense. And if you have a question, then you can always reach out and we'll help answer that for you. So that's the basic info section. Economic development info. This is not shared publicly, but we are an economic development organization, so we do collect some information on every deal that's on the platform. So as simple as, have you attempted to raise capital for this project or company in the past? How many jobs do you expect to be created as a result of successful funding? And how much of that funding will actually be spent on the island, whether it's in property, equipment, and not just leaving the island for other expenditures. So that helps us gauge what type of economic impact this deal will directly have if successful on the island. And that really helps us get a feel for how the island is doing. Investor flow. Now, this is an area where I will manage most of the investor flow and work through that with you. Here, you'll be able to manage the call to action buttons. If you want to change the name of the invest button or the contact us button, I suggest probably leaving them alone, but if it makes sense in your specific context, maybe you'll want to adjust the name. If you want someone else to be notified, maybe you're working as a team or co-founders or have multiple people who need to be notified of things, you can add them in as well as contact emails. So anytime someone reaches out to contact us, it can maybe notify multiple people to make sure no interested investor is falling through the cracks. Again, you can customize different messages. A lot of this will go through. So in addition to having this demo, once you've gone through and you've created a deal and you've filled out as much as you can and done as much as you can, that's when I suggest reaching out. I can jump on and walk through the details of any questions you have and refine and start looking over the information that you are submitting. Another thing to be aware of, as you're working on this, make sure to save your changes as you go along so you're not losing what you're spending time putting in. If you happen to hit the submit button, don't worry. It's not going to automatically publish to the world or anything, so you don't need to freak out or anything like that. All it does is it will notify me and my team that the deal is ready to be looked at, to be reviewed. And at that point, then we'll go review, reach out to you if you haven't reached out to us already. And nothing will ever go live without us both being in a agreement, approval, and having all the steps checked off. So even if you hit submit, doesn't mean it's automatically going anywhere. So don't worry on that front. Display. Just some more options. You don't need to tweak most of these, but some people like to get into the nitty gritty and refine things. If you do want to maybe do webinars or connect with people, we do have a Zoom integration, and you can see over here to the right, there's a new meeting tab that you didn't see on some of those other deals. If you decide to do something like we're doing now, but you want to walk through your specific deal, you can do that through that integration. Now, coming back to kind of how this functions, since we're not getting involved in the deal, we're not taking a percentage, we're not trying to dictate what you do. It's okay if you're using this platform just to get some more exposure, but you're still raising capital apart, offline or even on another platform. We're not going to get mad or anything like that. For us, we want to maximize your ability to raise capital and help where we can. So in that case, you may take money offline, or maybe someone writes you a check because they don't like using the internet. Whatever it may be, you can manually update here in the back end. We can also make custom transactions. So maybe you did the deal or the investment offline, but you do want them to be able to log in and get updates and reports on the platform. We can custom add offline transactions as well, or past transactions. Maybe you're listing the deal halfway through a capital raise, but you want to have everyone together in one database. We can upload past transactions also. So this is just where you can test or customize things a little bit more. Pretty self-explanatory. So stepping back, we do have different integrations. So as a baseline, things are quasi-automated. And what I mean by that is when you go through an investment journey, you can put in the dollar amount, you can e-sign the documents, that's all built in. But when you get to payments, you can either have it more manual where we're just providing the wire information or wherever they need to send the funds to an escrow or your bank account. Or you can also integrate. We have integrations with other service providers who provide online escrow creation. They can accept other forms of payments. They can accept and handle checks that are mailed in. They can handle big fund transfers of any type. They can accept crypto or credit cards or other types of investment and manage all of that. Those are integrations we have because, again, we don't touch the money, but we do securely connect with providers for that. So if you want a fully automated process, and part of that process, most of those companies and integrations will also offer third-party accreditation checks or know your customer checks, identity checks, things like that. Those, of course, have a fee with them depending what you have them do. We don't get involved in the fees or anything like that. There's no markup. You actually will be able to connect directly with these groups and take care of that on your own. We're not trying to mark things up. We just want you to be successful. Now, that being said, we are a nonprofit, but we're not a complete charity that's only running off of donations. Well, technically we are, but what you need to do when you list a deal, besides checking the boxes, being legal, being legitimate, being presentable, having everything you need, being in Puerto Rico, moving to Puerto Rico, or contributing to the Puerto Rico economy, we have a one-time listing fee. Now, this listing fee will range depending on how much capital you're looking to raise, but the baseline is going to be anywhere from $500 and up. If you're raising hundreds of millions, that's going to be more in the couple grand scenario. So that is on a sliding scale. Now, that being said, that donation, or well, that payment is a donation because we're a nonprofit, so you can write it off. Despite being a listing fee, it's a donation. We're a 501c3. We're also a Puerto Rico approved 1101. 01A2 specifically for those who that matters if you're investing under a tax incentive or something like that. So we qualify for all of those. And it's just a one-time payment. It's not contingent on how much you raise, if you're successful or not. We can't legally do that. So we just have that one simple low fee. In comparison, when you list on other investment or equity crowdfunding sites or other platforms, they normally take a percentage, could be anywhere from 6 to 10% of what you raise. Many times you'll even have another fee on top of it. So in this case, it's probably the cheapest thing you'll ever find to list on a platform and get all of this value. But it is a donation. Now, it's one thing to list. It's another thing to maintain and make the most of your listing. So once you have this offering listed, we'll run through some best practices. Also, we'll coordinate with your marketing strategy. We can coordinate with our marketing team just in case we can reshare or help, or if we do a post that might include you and other new deals being listed, we can talk about that. One thing to be clear on, we cannot play favorites in our marketing, so we're not going to become your marketing team. We do and can announce if there's new deals listed. That's totally fine. Maybe if we're doing stories or other things on a broader topic, it might include yours and a couple other deals. Maybe if we're talking about agriculture and there's all the agriculture deals mentioned or something like that. Things like that can happen, but we won't and cannot just play favorites or do a special anything for one company over another. So what we offer to one, we offer to all. One of those things is also doing a video, a sit down. Many times I'll sit down with projects so that we can kind of have a fireside chat, discuss about the company, somewhat about the raise. It doesn't have to be, it's not a big pitch, but we can talk about the things are exciting, the things are interesting, why you're bullish, why you started the company, all those different things. That really helps investors who are looking potentially from anywhere in the world to get a better sense of who's running this project, who's behind the deal that they're looking at, beyond just a picture of a founder. That really helps close the gap between interest and serious interest. So that's something that we do offer and we can talk about on a case-by-case basis. Now, something that is very important as you're sharing, which you should definitely do, just because you list it doesn't mean you're automatically going to be funded. You still want to share. And depending on how it's structured, many of the deals can be shared publicly on social media, things like that. You just can't promise returns or anything. We give engagement analytics. Now, I'll switch a couple screens in just a second so you can see. But we give very in-depth analytics. And we also have the document section where you can manage, just like you saw. This is where you can e-sign documents. If people request access to view certain documents, this is where you approve or deny them. And if you allow people to download documents, this is where you give them that option. Which reminds me of something that I'm going to revert back to on the deal. When you're uploading documents, which we'll go to right here, it's essentially a folder structure, just like on your computer. You can add a new folder. Maybe it's financials or whatever you want it to be. Maybe it's decks or other things. You might want to spell it right. What you can do is set the order of documents if you have a bunch. If you have a whole folder already with a bunch of stuff, you can actually upload an entire folder and it'll just auto-populate. And then this is that restriction area I was telling you about. So here is where you can choose from those different options, everything from a checkbox acknowledging an agreement to electronically signing something like an NDA, asking or requesting access, being on a pre-approved list, self-attesting that you're accredited, having a know your customer check completed, or just having a full profile. So this allows you to always know that the right people are seeing the right documents at the right time. And so you can feel comfortable uploading all the necessary information onto the platform, which makes the investment process so much more streamlined and easy. Instead of trying to email back and forth a bunch of people, hoping your attachment's not too big or anything like that, it can all be done in one place. Uploading videos, other things is pretty self-explanatory. I suggest having a YouTube or Vimeo link. Those tend to work the best and most consistently. Updates, you can provide updates, as I mentioned earlier, to different groups. You can present it publicly to logged in users or to investors only. Q&A, where you answer questions, contact us, put in your contact info. That's all pretty self-explanatory. Now, jumping back, I'm going to unshare this screen for a second to bring up another screen to show the analytics. So as I'm getting that ready, think of any other questions that you have, and we'll compile those. And in just a minute, assuming I get this frog out of my throat, I'll be answering all those questions as well. So I'm going to be pulling up just a little test deal here that you can look at. And so one thing that's very important is to have a strategy with the offering. You need to be sharing, and I'm still looking this up, so I'm just talking to you as I do that. So thanks for your patience. But you want to have a strategy when you're sharing. It can be on social, could be through email. You could maybe be presenting at different events that are happening. There's lots of those that happen online or in person as well here on the island. So there's a lot of opportunities, which we'll go into on a case-by-case basis, that you can take advantage of. All right, here we go. We'll present another option. Oh, here. There we go. So that is loading. Here is where you find analytics. So when you click on engagement, it'll bring you this investor journey. This investor journey shows you how far registered account holders got in their journey to hopefully investing in you. In this case, out of the 28 people who looked at this deal, 15 essentially just clicked it and didn't do anything. And you can hover over here, over these little icons and see what they mean. But in this case, you'll be able to look and see, okay, well, this many people looked, they didn't spend a lot of time. Makes sense because it's not a fully blown project. But you can get analytics to even how much time they spent looking at your offering. What I like to do is start backwards to who made it the furthest. So in this case, 5 people made it to reviewing documents. Click, find out who they are, see, okay, well, I wonder why they stopped at reviewing documents. And that's when you can be proactive. You can reach out to those potential investors. Maybe you want to look them up on LinkedIn, see if they are even a good fit or not. And with the analytics that you get from who's looking at your deal, you can also get a feel for, are they the right people? Are you attracting the right people? Maybe you need to adjust how you're sharing or marketing your offering to attract a different type of potential investor. Now, importantly, here in the right-hand corner, you have an export data option. What that'll do is that'll export the contact info and names and everything of all the account holders who looked at your deal. Obviously, if it's open and anonymous people looked at it, we don't have that information besides that someone looked at it. But for anyone who has an account and can be contacted, you will actually be provided that information through this export. That is also something very different from other platforms that normally only give you the information once someone's already invested. In this case, just by looking We provide that so you can start to develop those relationships and make sure you're having the best investors for you as possible. So that is the engagement aspect. Now, that's pretty much a wrap from the demo standpoint. So we're going to jump over to answering questions now. So if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll start addressing those. As we're waiting for anyone who might have a question to drop those in, I'll run through a couple more things and recap. So if you want to list a deal, create an issuer account. You can already start filling things out. Accounts are free, so you don't have to really hesitate for that. You do need to have a legal entity and everything like that to really go forward with the process, but start filling things out. Take note of any questions you have, and once you've gone through and done everything, reach out or even hit that submit button, and they'll auto notify me. I or someone on my team will jump on. We'll go on a phone call. We'll walk through things in depth. We do want to learn about your project in addition to just listing. We do like to understand the projects that are here, because we are meeting with investors every single day. We're meeting with other people in the ecosystem, service providers, accelerators, and we most likely have some connections to make for you. Now, that's another thing. If you don't have what you need, or you don't know what you need, that's another thing we can help you with. We do work with a lot of reputable lawyers, accountants, other service providers within the industry. And depending what those needs are, we can make connections for you or give you a list of different service providers that can help you fill in the gaps with maybe what you don't have. So again, we're here to help. Despite helping, we can't do everything for you. So do as much as you can. Come to us with your questions. We're happy to connect you, and we'll strategize on a case-by-case basis as we get ready to launch your project to make the most of it and keep you apprised of any opportunities. It doesn't look like there's too many questions, which is totally fine. Hopefully that means I did a good job and you're not sleeping. So if you have a question that pops up later on, feel free to send us an email. We can drop that in the chat. The easiest email is impeller@investpr.org. Feel free to send an email there and go ahead and play around on the platform. Let us know when you're ready to talk. And thanks for tuning in. See ya.